Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. My guest right now, of course, you know her from shows like The Good Wife and True Blood. Maybe you've seen her in Persons of Interest. I loved her in Happyish, but forever will be known to me as Jan Eagleman from Arrested Development. Say hello to Carrie Preston. Hello.
I love you pulled the random credit out of all of my things.
It was a great role.
It was a great role, and it was fun to be in the final season of that show.
For those who don't know, if you do know if you're an Arrested Development fan. If you don't know, you were there to be a prosecutor in a mock trial,
right?
That involved Judge Reinhold.
Yes.
But it also involved the Bluth family in there too.
Right.
And you're going through the motions, and it was a brilliant character.
It was a fun character.
I thought there would be more than the one shot, but
well, that was like the very, very end of the whole run, So I think they only had a few more episodes after that. I think even when I was shooting that, they knew that it was the end, so they were all kind of gunning for that.
Do you get people recognizing you from that?
No, because that was in my blonder days.
Yes.
Now I'm a redhead now, and everybody sort of knows me as post redhead. I was definitely a little more versatile back in those days.
Some of the credits that I listed as we started this, what are you most recognized from?
Oh, it's so funny. I have this game that I play where I kind of when someone comes up and says, "I love you" on the show, I do this little mental game where I try to guess what show they're talking about, and I'm usually pretty good.
Do you ever get it where they don't know, they don't recognize you, but they know you from something, so that's why they say the show?
Right. Well, no, because they're either talking about usually The Good Wife or True Blood.
They're not thinking you're like Willow from Buffy.
Not really. Although every once in a while, someone will shock me and say something like, "Oh, the Arrested Development," or like the first movie I did, which was My Best Friend's Wedding, which
is a big deal.
A big deal, and
to this day, it's still one of the top appreciated rom-coms.
It is. And when it came out in the late 90s, I think it was, there were a lot of little girls who loved it. Well, they're all grown up now, so a lot of people will still remember that movie. Oh, I love that when I was a little girl, and so I get a whole different demographic that way.
That makes sense. I talked to if I get her name wrong, but Kimberly Williams, who was the daughter in Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride, yes.
And those movies were early 90s,
Yeah.
and it still has a huge appreciation now because of Netflix and on demand that these movies are still on, so a whole nother generation finds them, discovers them, and is all in love with them.
I know. It's so cute, and people remember them, and also like YouTube, they'll pull out little clips, and like for My Best Friend's Wedding, we had that big number where we were singing "I Say a Little Prayer for You," and you can look that up on YouTube.
I think that was the start of women coming together and singing little pieces in the movie, be it at the end or during the credits sequence.
Or during the credits or whatever.
Because it like Bridesmaids did that with Wilson Phillips.
Yeah.
And I was like, that seems exactly like what you guys started, that trend.
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually added to that movie. It wasn't in the script, but the director, P.J. Hogan, wanted to have a musical number, so there it went.
You have so much going on, and we're definitely going to get to the reason why you're here, Crowded, brand new show on NBC. But I have to ask you about a project you had before this, Happyish.
Yes.
I loved Happyish.
Thank you.
I was a big I am a big Steve Coogan fan, and that's what drew me to the show when it was announced.
Yeah.
And I thought it was amazing the way they did it, because it was so out of the box.
I know.
It was a thought. A situation was going on, a thought process was happening, and then it was always one of the cast members just giving you the finger.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then it would go into a punk rock version. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
Right.
And then the whole scenario would, the whole show would come to be. And just a lot of out of the box thinking, where he was talking to the mascots for these advertising campaigns, where they were coming to life, and he's interacting like, all right, he's insane, but you have to be insane to do this job.
Right.
I don't know what happened. It was one season, and then I guess it's done.
Yeah, it's over. I don't know. I guess it was a little too specialized, maybe, and they couldn't quite get the audience. It's so hard nowadays.
It's ridiculous.
We're in it's actually a wonderful time for scripted television.
It's the new golden age of television.
That's what everyone keeps saying.
Actually, with the exception of, say, maybe some comic book blockbusters, it's bigger than movies right now.
I know. First of all, it's where all the budgets are now.
Right, yeah.
It's not like indie film back in the, 15 years ago, you could still raise money and you could do something that was, outside of the norm. And now you can do that with TV. I mean, it's so spread out. There's so many different places that are offering content, and it doesn't require a lot of money to do a show like that, but
Not at
still,
all.
it does.
But people are looking for
that
for that unique, offbeat kind of story that's not your typical, network broadcast cut and paste style of doing a television show.
Right.
And that's what I never got. I was like, you're in a time when you can't fathom that something is ahead of its time right now.
I know, right?
Because everything that was in the past is now here.
Yes.
When the future projects in the past were ahead of its time and they didn't do well, but now you start drawing comparisons. Oh, the way they shoot Daredevil or Walking Dead was sort of like how they did this show in the 90s, like X-Files in the 90s, things like that. It's hard to fathom that something is still ahead of its time, and that's why I thought happened with Happyish, because the way everything was done, it's like it was never how you expected anything.
Right.
I just thought it was brilliant all the way around, and then it was just disappointing to hear that it was only one season.
I know, we were all disappointed too, because it was really fun to do, and I liked that it was such an indictment of the advertising world,
right?
Which I think
it was very anti-Mad Men.
It was the absolute opposite of it,
right?
And it was pretty cynical, and so I don't know, maybe people were just not into the cynicism. I'm not sure.
I love cynicism, so
I know,
thought
exactly.
it was fantastic.
Exactly.
But it was definitely right at the time when Mad Men was ending. Mad Men was showing you how it all started, and this is showing you where it is now with younger millionaires from a foreign country coming in and just buying companies, thinking just because, we're going to do a YouTube clip that everything's going to be okay, and that's not how the world works.
Right, exactly.
But as you can tell, I was a fan of that show.
I'm glad you were. Yeah.
Let's talk about the show that you're here to promote, and it's very good, Crowded on NBC.
Yes.
It's Sunday nights at 9:30, which is a little awkward because to put a brand new show on a Sunday at 9 o'clock, I don't know. It just felt maybe, I was like, is the network not too sure about this show? Because that's prime real estate for the cable shows, the way Sundays has been built, or during certain times of the year, football.
Sure.
So, you're getting hit from all sides. You'd think with a brand new sitcom, they would try to space it out through the year, maybe in the old, the must-see TV time slots on Thursday or build up Monday, something like that. It was just weird to put it on a Sunday.
Yeah, we were surprised too, but at the same time, I think they're trying to build a family night that's kind of alternative programming to what you were just talking about. Right. The cable shows have that audience, but the families, and when I say families for our show, I mean the people in their 20s who are living at home with their parents, which is exactly what our show is about.
You've got that later tier Nickelodeon generation, thanks especially to Miranda Cosgrove.
Yes, who's lovely and
wonderful. For those who don't know, she was for many years iCarly, which was a huge show on Nickelodeon.
Right, exactly. So now they're all in their 20s, and and 1 in 5 of them are living at home with their parents.
Right.
So we are kind of tapping into that. That group of people, and also it's just, I think, a very topical subject matter, but it's told with a very traditional format.
Right.
And so it is something, they're taking a risk by putting a multi-camera half-hour show on a Sunday night, but it does follow Little Big Shots, which is a huge hit for NBC right now, The Carmichael Show, which is also turning out to be a very successful show for them.
Yeah, we just spoke to Gerard not too long ago.
Yeah. So I think it's a good partnership with that show. They come first and then we come. So I think they're really trying to build an interesting evening. I don't know how well it's working, but it's certainly, I think, well thought out strategy.
In one way, it's puzzling and concerning because they're trying to take on a night that's pretty much locked by other channels, which I get the balls to do that. In the other way, still with that, is like they didn't build it around a big established show.
Sure.
But on the other hand, you got to give them kudos too for saying we're going to try all this new programming and try to find an audience that doesn't know that it's there, and the audience doesn't know that they're there to watch these shows.
Right.
And because all these shows are fairly new.
Yes.
Nothing's more than like a year or older.
Little Big Shots is brand new. The Carmichael Show had one like half a season over the summer. So this is, really them in a major time slot and but still we're all mid-season replacements. So they didn't start us in the fall, which I think was good.
Going into, like you said, a new way of telling stories and doing things in a traditional format that people are used to. You've done some shows that aren't in any kind of traditional format with what like Happyish that we talked about, TrueBlood especially.
Yes.
Persons of Interest is all over the place in a great way.
Yeah.
Even The Good Wife, is not telling a story in a traditional like in a Law and Order kind of feel. It goes in and out of the professional and personal life. Going into this format and then still trying to do some of the elements of a non-traditional show.
Right.
How is that juggling all of that?
Well, it's such an interesting way of working, and I used to do the multi-camera sitcoms a lot when I first started because they used to make a lot more of those. And when I say multicam, I mean there's an audience there. We have 4 cameras. They're all pointing in the same direction, and we shoot the show on one night. And so it really appeals to me as a theater artist, because I started off doing theater. So for me, it was really fun to get in front of a live audience again.
Right.
But at the same time, we're filming. So, and it's a completely different way of working on the scripts, too. They change them every day. I don't know if you know that, but they're rewriting the scripts every day. So we're getting new material every day.
So once you do the table read, it's like that's no guarantee
Forget it.
what
Don't
you just
hang
read
on to any of that.
is everything you're going to do.
It's an exercise of letting go.
It's a coffee break. We're all just getting together.
You got to
and then,
be real zen,
Yeah.
like non-attachment, because as soon as you want to joke, it's gonna go away.
Is it the old system of where you have the script and then as soon as you see the different color pages in there, like, oh, they changed something?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yep, still doing
only
that?
now it's email. Your email goes
You gotta print it
ding.
out yourself.
Oh, shoot,
We sent you the PDF.
a new draft, and then even on the nights when we tape, you do a scene, they see how the audience reacts, they get in a huddle, and they come over and give you brand new lines that you've never said before, and out they come in front of a live audience.
What's the taping time?
Oh, well, we work with James Burrows. He's our director.
Legendary director.
The legendary.
He worked on Cheers at one point,
worked
right?
on,
Yeah.
He
Cheers,
did every
Frasier.
episode of Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cheers, Frasier, Friends, you name it. All of them. Taxi, he's done every.
Wow, he goes that far back.
Yes. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore Show. Yeah.
All right, this guy never needs to work.
Yeah.
I mean, he did every major successful sitcom.
He did. When we were shooting Crowded, our final episode of the season was his 1,000th episode of directing television.
You guys lucked out because if you can't make a sitcom work with this genius,
I know,
then
right?
something is wrong.
So he works fast, and he doesn't want a lot of takes because he likes it fresh. And so our shortest tape night was 2.5 hours.
That's great.
It's unbelievable.
I've heard horror scenes about sitcom taping where sometimes the audience is there, 4 hours, and they got to do actual intermissions.
Oh, sure,
where the audience has to be let out for a bathroom break, or they have, let them over to catering because this is still going to take a while. They're rewriting the scene as they're doing it.
Yes.
2.5 hours in and out. It's not a bad day.
It's not a bad day at all. It's kind of a record to do it that short. Usually it is around 4 hours. But you heard all these stories about going till 3 a.m, and they just let the audience go. And
I've heard it too. That's I forgot the show, but they were on the same lot as a game show.
Okay.
And now the game shows usually tape 5 episodes in one day.
Right.
And then the next week they tape another 5. So they're months in advance because there's nothing dated or timely about shooting a game show.
Right.
But I heard, I forgot what sitcom it was, but the audience was there for so long, they had to let them go and brought in one of the game show audiences for a whole new thing.
Yeah. We obviously never had to do that, thank God.
Let's hope you don't have to do that because that means it's a long night for you.
Yes.
You're working with one of my favorite people in the world, Patrick Warburton.
Oh, yeah, he's the best.
Does he let you in on his Pearl Jam obsession?
Oh, yeah. We have a whole episode of Crowded coming up that's all about his character's obsession with Pearl Jam, which of course they got from Patrick.
Right.
And then also all of the episodes of the season, the names of the episodes are Pearl Jam titles.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
If you go look up the titles of the shows, they're all Pearl Jam.
Well, the last episode I saw was the hot tub episode.
Right.
Now I got to ask some questions on that.
Okay.
But that was the case of really doing the traditional format, but also straying away from the typical cliches of a sitcom, because normally in a sitcom would be like, the teen was out drinking too much.
Yes.
Or, in the case of like Roseanne was one of the first times where they took the joints from the kid, and then Roseanne and Jackie wound up smoking the joint later in there. But that was about as hardcore as it gets.
Yeah.
There's a whole pill scene in
Yeah,
here. There's
pills.
hopping in naked into the hot tub, and
Yeah.
then maybe a potential swinger
Swingers.
thing going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're really going as far as they can.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
How is Patrick ad-libbing with this? Because some of those responses seem like they were ad-libs.
No, not really. They're pretty good about sticking. We're pretty good about sticking to the script, but they keep riffing on it, and with that scene,
Because I think the line was, he goes, "I'm floating here" or something like that.
no,
I'm like,
that's,
that has to be an outtake.
no, that was definitely scripted.
Wow.
I know, it's so
balls.
funny. The balls, literally.
No pun.
Yeah, we were wearing the ugliest nude.
I was going to ask you that.
Underneath.
'Cause
I mean, they
you
weren't even
were-
swimsuits.
You were
but
just below
Yeah.
the water line. And I don't know how they work. Like, in television, if they do a nude scene on broadcast TV, you're obviously wearing flesh-colored pasties, and
Sure.
then they pixel you out.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
But I didn't know how it worked with water. So you have a bikini
So we were
or
wearing,
something?
not even that. I mean, it was pretty unattractive what was going on up under there. It
Right.
was like a forklift. No, it was like some weird nude color Spanx and a nude bra and like all kinds of stuff to mask it. And the guys were wearing nude shorts, boy short kind
Right.
of things. Yeah, and then they kept having to add a bunch of bubbles. To make sure that it was,
Keep
covered.
dumping
Yeah.
soap in there. It's
yeah,
not,
and they kept saying, "Carrie, don't bob up, don't bob up." I was like, "Okay, well, I'm in the water, y'all. Like you float when you're in the water." So,
Right.
And the water, by the way, was not exactly hot. It was
Oh, no?
It was a lukewarm tub, kind of.
Oh, they just turned the
because
hose
it's
on,
been
and then you had
sitting
to
there.
deal with the studio.
Yeah, and they
studio
had all
temperature.
these wires underneath that were making all the bubbles come up and stuff. So it was an illusion. And then also,
I heard you broke your
I
toe.
broke my
right?
toe. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yes. When I got out of the
You slipped?
hot tub. No, we were just doing a scene where we were barefooted, and I walked over to sit down on a chair and crack on camera. They didn't use that take because I watched the show
They
on
should have
Sunday night.
used that
They should have used
as
it.
the credits, like the blooper scenes as the credits
Exactly.
are going
Crack.
at the end.
Boom, and I sit down. But no one knew. I kept it going. But I was seeing, white. It was like, what? I know something bad just happened here. And then, yeah, I had to walk around.
We're unfortunately running out of time, but I also wanted to bring up Stacy Keach, how great he is in there.
He's incredible.
He resembles that old school Archie Bunker kind of feel,
Sure.
but he's married to a black woman,
Right.
has a black stepson.
Yes.
That's included with the family.
Yes.
So right when you think he's going to go Archie Bunker, he doesn't. But he's very chauvinistic.
Yes, for sure.
They kept that angle in
Yeah,
there.
they
that,
did. They
for
did.
date night. He's
Yes.
like, he's like, I like a place with a cafeteria where they give you a tray. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's just such a grandpa thing to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're doing that with the characters. They're sort of using the traditional, stock types, but they're kind of messing up the hair. They're definitely trying to add more contemporary elements to the characters, which I think is great.
Well, I didn't know about the Pearl Jam theming with
Yeah.
naming the episodes,
Yeah.
and that there's more Pearl Jam stuff from Patrick's Obsession coming
Yes,
in there.
yes.
Maybe at one point Pearl Jam shows up. So
Well,
all of a
I
sudden
think Patrick would love that.
he bumps into Eddie Vedder, or you bump into Eddie Vedder in the supermarket, and then
Yeah.
you're like,
come on
and you're
in.
describing this guy, and then he realizes it was Eddie Vedder. And
Yeah, that would be
shenanigans happen.
there. Are you
know.
listening, Suzanne Martin? That's for next season 2.
Crowded is on NBC Sunday nights 9:30. You also live tweet during the episode,
Yes,
which is
yeah, we all
awesome.
do,
It's
yeah.
great that you do that. Carrie Preston on Twitter and also on Instagram.
Yes.
So send her a little message while you're watching the show. Tell her how much you like it. She does respond to everything.
I do. I'd love to hear from you.
And then when you come back next time, I would love to talk to you because you're on Royal Pains, but you were also on Good Morning Miami.
Yes.
That's another show that I liked that only was a one and done season. So.
I know. Yeah, that was one of the best guest spots I ever had.
Carrie, thank you so much for your time. I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
it was so rushed, but you're a
Hey,
busy gal. You got a
hit
lot
all
to
the-
do.
You hit all the major
But
marks.
there's so much more to get to.
Yeah,
I
thank
mean,
you.
look, here's a teaser for next time. Who's Afraid of Vagina Wolf? We didn't get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get that on Netflix.
Yeah,
Check
next
it
time.
out.
Carrie, thank you so much. We'll see you next time you're in New York.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to be here.